Hello everyone, welcome back to alkalineHydroxide 784. Today is an important and frankly exciting day. As you can clearly tell from the changed first slide, we will be looking at LGBTQA+. As usual, my computer makes weird noises. So what exactly is the LGBTQA+? Well, to an overly passionate biologist or bioinformatician, this might look like some protein string with a plus sign at the end, but to the rest of us people, this represents the diversity of sexual orientations. As you can see, the slides are pink. Well, this slide is a special shade of pink to calm the haters, I suppose. And this pink is to honor the pink dot movement because, otherwise it'll be quite weird to see me making the slides pink. I like orange. But yeah, it's pink because, the pink dot movement. And that will be on 27 June online this year because everything has to be online this year, unfortunately. But at least it's there on 27 June. And yeah, the first slide, as you have noticed by now, was done in the colors of the LGBT flag, aka the rainbow. And of course in the order of the rainbow. And of course it didn't require much change because it was already colorful to begin with. And it just suited perfectly. Great. Okay, cool. Anyway, some of you might be wondering, why is the Pink Dot Rally always done in June? Well, it's because June is Pride Month. And it happens to be June because on June 28, 1969, in New York City, there was this police raid at Stonewall Inn, which was a frequent hangout for people in the LGBT community. And the police decided to arrest the people who are visiting that place. And I don't even know why. So, I guess American police, well, what can I say? Okay. And the public stood in solidarity for those people who are wrongly arrested in the sense. I don't really know how else to phrase it. But yeah, the public stood in solidarity for the community by jeering at the police and throwing stones at them. So, yeah, okay, cool. And this was followed by riots, and this led to what was originally known as the gay rights movement, and kind of on a broader spectrum, on a broader scale, like the Pride Month and all the other movements that followed this. Anyways, today's episode will be more on the answering questions side rather than me trying to give opinions. So in other words, I'll try my best not to give too many opinions because this is a bit of a touchy topic. There are those people who are like very conservative and they don't even like the mention of this topic, and there are those people who do not want anyone like saying anything against them either, so I don't want to end up inciting anyone. So I'll attempt to educate rather than incite. So let's start, shall we? So first off, we need to understand what all those letters mean, because there are some people out there who do not even know what they mean. So I'm just gonna look at the definitions for the stuff that I actually wrote in the first slide, because there are many variations of how you can write it. Usually people just say LGBT because that's the easiest one to say. There's only 4 letters, so it's probably like the shortest one and the more common ones. But the one in my first slide is LGBTQA+, which is as much as I can remember at one go. And of course there's other letters like I and P and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit complicated. So I'm just gonna go through the ones that were on the first slide. So L is for lesbian. So in this scenario, it's like a female is sexually attracted or just generally attracted to other females. So G is for gay. Of course, the original meaning of gay was happy, but in today's context, it's when you have a male being attracted to another male. So B is for bisexual, where you are attracted to both males and females. So this can apply to anyone. So if you're attracted to both males and females, you can consider yourself bisexual. And of course, it not necessarily like they're equally attracted to both. It can be like different extents, but generally, you get the point, yeah. And then T is for transgender, where basically if, let's say you're a female at birth, but you want to become a male, or if you're a male at birth and you want to become a female, that kind of scenario. And these people usually undergo operations and procedures to change into the other, I don't know, let's say sex or gender. okay, I'm also a bit confused, but okay, so it's a bit more of a gender identity thing because their sexual, like their actual sex may be different, but the gender identity that they follow is, like their gender is different from their sex, kind of. Yeah. So in a way, like a trans person can be lesbian and gay or bisexual or anything for that matter, or they can be straight too. Yeah, so that's the idea. So Q, you might be wondering what Q is, and Q is for queer, which is like a more broader way of, like it's a bit more broader than bisexual. So it's like anything goes. You're attracted to anyone of any gender or any sex. Yeah, it's just everything goes. And A is for asexual, which is basically like the opposite of queer. So you're not attracted to anyone. So generally, by attraction, you're looking at sexual attraction. I'm supposing that asexual people might still feel certain emotions and stuff like that with the opposite gender or even with the same gender for that matter, but they would not feel a deeper sense of attraction to people in general, and they're not interested in sex. Yeah, they're not interested in that. It's not because of their upbringing, but because they just really don't want to do it. Like they innately don't want to do it. Yeah, so that's asexual. And for some reason, I have this feeling that there's actually a lot of people who don't even know that they're asexual. I mean, there could be, I'm not sure. Yeah, so finally you get to know. Yeah, so of course, this isn't even the entire spectrum. It's complicated and things keep evolving now and then, like terms keep coming up. Because it's really like based on the people in the community themselves as well. So you can, it's not like really stiff definitions or anything. It's quite fluid in a way. Yeah, that's the general way that these terms go. And if you really want to know more, you can go to this link by the University of Illinois, where there's a whole bunch of terminology related to this. And if you feel like you are a bit confused whenever you read something about LGBT, maybe this will help you a bit. It's like a vocabulary for you. Yeah, okay, cool. So now some of you might be wondering, is LGBT a modern thing? Okay, for now I'm just gonna say LGBT because it's easier to say it. Not for any other reasons, because like LGBT is the one that people say the most. Even though I know there's also the Q and the A and the I and the P and everything, but I'm just gonna say LGBT. Yeah, okay, cool. So is this a modern thing? Well, it seems like it because, all the hype over it is only more recently seen, right? Like maybe 1900s and 2000s, around that time. And also the laws are only quite recent. Like maybe after 2000 only you get all these laws about LGBT rights and things like that. But in fact, you would be dead wrong if you said yes, because LGBT has existed as far as recorded history goes, and was present most famously in ancient Greece and Rome. If you actually go to a place like Reddit and then see all the history memes, you can actually find out that in ancient Rome there were like gay relations and stuff like that. But apart from that, it was also there in Asia, in Africa, and America. So basically everywhere. You can read more about it in the Wikipedia article. So of course, most of this history mostly notes male-to-male relationships, and sometimes transgender, because those are the more well-known ones in the sense. So I guess gayness is as old as time itself. I'm not sure if that was okay to say, but okay, cool. Okay, so LGBT isn't a new thing. So why are all of the old people angry about it? I don't know. But the conservative ones, well, they have like some misconceptions about it maybe, or something like that, and we probably need to dispel these misconceptions or stuff like that. So I think one I'm not sure of how common of a misconception this is, but it's something that, even like if you watch certain media or something like that, you may have this kind of misconception that people of the LGBT community tend to be more sexual in the way they act. Like, if you watch certain videos or something like that, you have this perception. Or if, like that's the question. So is that the case? Well, not necessarily. Also, when I watch like videos and someone who's from the LGBT community and they tend to make jokes about, of course they are more, they sometimes do make some slightly adult jokes, and since I am supposedly an adult, it should be fine. But yes, but it's not just them who are making the jokes, but the straight people as well are making jokes as well. So they're no different. But both straight people and LGBT people are equally as sexual. So the answer is no, they are not more sexual per se. You don't become inherently more, sexual once you become LGBT, or once people find out you're LGBT doesn't mean that you suddenly become more sexual, because straight people are just as sexual, if not more. I think the only exception is the asexual people, because they're the opposite of sexual. Okay, that was a weird thing to say, but okay, yeah. So in fact, LGBT community is not more sexual than straight people. Yeah, straight people. So the next question, is LGBT a natural phenomenon, and do people change over time or something? Okay, so the answer is that yes, LGBT is a natural phenomenon. Of course, we cannot super clearly define what causes it, but that may be for the better in a way, because if you actually have like this super defined way of telling who is gay or lesbian, the conservative people are just going to be trying to find ways to change these people back to apparently back to straight. And I'm putting this in apostrophes. So yeah, all the conservative people are going to be like, oh, since we know this is what defines a gay person, we're going to try to change that. Yeah, so that it's actually better to not have this super defined thing that says that, oh, this is what defines someone who is gay, or this is what defines someone who is straight. But at the same time, if we don't have a way to tell, it would be quite hard to tell all those conservative people that, oh, LGBT is actually a natural thing. However, there is a thing that will help us tell that it is natural, because there was this whole thing about this gay gene or something, and a study tried to find out if there was such a gene. Unfortunately, they couldn't really find a specific gene per se, but they did manage to find genetic links, which is good enough to tell that LGBT is actually natural in the sense of like being part of that community is a natural thing. It's not something that that is caused by external influences solely, and at the same time, it is is definitely influenced to some extent from the beginning itself, like you're born with it in a way. So yeah, that means you should stop trying to change someone who is not straight. Let them be who they truly are. I mean, it's not a crime or something, okay? Well, speaking of crime, what do the different laws around the world spell for the lives of LGBTQA people? Well, at least in Singapore, we already know so well about the existence of Section 377A, which is actually a remnant of British rule. And in India, this thing was, repealed, like Section 377A was removed. In Singapore, it hasn't been, so I'm not sure what to say. Okay, so this weird fun fact. During the Japanese occupation, the Japanese people imposed Japanese law, and in that period of time, there was no criminalization of gay relations. But I'm not sure how fun fact this is, because the Japanese occupation was still a terrible thing. So yeah, okay, cool. So 377A criminalizes gay sex and is obviously redundant and pretty useless. Okay, sorry, I promise to not be opinionated, right? But let me prove why it is useless. The law is meant to punish crimes, right? So I don't see why gay sex is a crime. I'm not sure. Like, it's natural and it doesn't harm anyone else, so I don't get why it's considered a crime in the law. So can someone please explain to me why? And that is why this law is pretty useless and should be just removed. I know the government isn't really enforcing it per se, but the fact that it exists creates that, gives that, opportunity for people to discriminate against gay people. and I don't think that's a good thing. So it would be best it would be in our best interest to like actually remove this 377A, because look, times have changed. We are now in 2020 and we have more important things to worry about. Instead of, like, we have to worry about climate change and stuff like that, we should worry about making laws to prevent, climate change from happening, rather than making laws that prevent people from having sex. Okay, cool. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Okay, I don't know what I just okay, yeah, but the fact that a law exists doesn't make sense. That's what I intend to say. So what about the other parts of the spectrum, or like how does the law treat them? I think at the moment I don't really see any very specific laws per se, but in national service, transgender male to female transitions are exempted if they actually transition before national service. But generally, gay men do not really come out for fear of discrimination. And another thing that happens in Singapore is that, okay, so like in Netflix, there's a bunch of different stuff there, right? Singapore seems to easily, happily just go and ban everything, even if it has like the slightest, mention of a LGBT kind of relationship or something like that. So yeah, that's the idea of, like, that's your idea of Singapore law with regards to LGBT. So what about in other countries? Well, if I go into details, it will take a long time to finish, because just how many countries are there in the world? There's a lot of countries. So instead, I'll just be super general about this and say that there are countries on both sides of the like a scale between being super harsh and super, like, such that it's deadly to actually have a same-sex relationship. They actually punish it with the death penalty and stuff like that. But there are other countries that are so tolerant on the other side of the scale, where they have widespread acceptance and rights protection for the LGBT community. And yeah, you can kind of actually check the link to see which countries are on which side of the scale. So usually the ones that actually give the death penalty are the ones that impose Sharia law, and the country that is on the other side, very tolerant and very accepting of LGBT community, is Netherlands. So the Netherlands was one of the first countries to really go the full I don't know what phrase I wanted to say, but to go the full extent in making sure that LGBT rights are preserved, and making sure that they can do what they want to do, like, love each other, marry each other, live together, adopt children, do whatever they want. And that's a good thing, I think. So, but of course, in most of the other countries, there's usually one thing that they haven't done yet, or many things that they haven't done yet. So it's still a long way to go before everyone becomes like Netherlands and, accepts the LGBT community 100%. So yeah, but if you're curious to know more, you can look at that link, because there's some nice visual maps, and I think it's easier to understand than staring at a bunch of words. So yeah. And there's also a Wikipedia article. Wikipedia is a good source of info, don't judge me. So you can actually go and see more information on what are the laws that are there in each of the countries. So the funny thing is, if you go there and read it and then see the ancient stuff versus the modern stuff, it's funny to see that in ancient times, there are actually prevalent mentions of homosexuality mostly, but somewhat LGBT related stuff. But today, in those exact same countries, there is quite a bit of discrimination against the community. So I don't know what changed in all of those years. Oh well. So yeah, alright. So it's important to know that some of these laws would have been religiously influenced. So I guess that's what happened. Religion happened. Okay, oops. Anyways. So let's see what some of the world religions have to say about LGBT. So if you look at Christianity and maybe Judaism, the Orthodox Christianity or Orthodox Judaism are kind of against LGBT. But like, as with anything, religion also evolves. So the more newer versions of Christianity and Judaism, like the Reform ones and stuff like that, they tend to be a bit more accepting. Although to yeah, there's still definitely a bunch of people who are totally against LGBT because they are strongly Christian or something like that. So I don't know what that means, but you get the idea. So if it comes to Islam, the Sharia law in some countries criminalizes same-sex acts, which is what I told just now. And in general, Islam is against homosexuality. So what the LGBT Muslims here do is either they leave the religion or they just don't come out. They just hide the fact that they are part of this. Like they hide their actual sexual orientation from their family and they just struggle because of that. So yeah. So what about Hinduism? Supposedly I should know. Well, actually, I don't like I haven't heard of anything that supposedly criminalizes LGBT or anything like that. So yeah, it's somewhat right to say that we don't really have anything against it per se. And it's actually even historically famous for, the stories involving people changing genders and stuff like that. But yeah, like even in the epics and in like ancient texts and stuff like that. So technically by right, there isn't anything against LGBT in terms of Hinduism, but nowadays in real life, different people in India, even among the Hindus per se, they tend to have different views on LGBT. So some of them are completely accepting on it, or even they're even allies of the LGBT community. An ally is a straight person who supports the LGBT community. Or they could be those, very conservative kind who find it totally unnatural and just wrong. Like that's their opinion of it. So yeah, even if the religion itself doesn't really explain the views of the people, it's also like different. Even within Christianity and Judaism, there's definitely people who are more tolerant of it and people who are less tolerant of it. So actually, there's one thing you should realize: it's not particularly just a religion, but the people themselves. As for Buddhism, there is also no real mention of being against homosexuality and stuff. So yay, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so now let us move to how things are in Singapore. So in Singapore, there happens to be this movement against the Pink Dot Rally, which, I was talking about the Pink Dot Rally at the beginning of this episode. And the movement against this is called the Wear White movement, which is kind of boring of a name, but okay. And it usually happens on the same day. So this Wear White movement was like motivated by some religious people, and they basically their view is that people should only have like relationship as guy and a girl and have a normal family, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what their movement is about. So there is some kind of religious kind of movement against the LGBT rally. And there's also a Church of Our Savior, that's the name of the church. And this church is publicly against homosexuality and even attempts to convert people to being straight. So I don't know what they're doing, but I want no part of it. But yeah, so as you can see in Singapore, there's still quite a bit of resistance against LGBT rights. And as long as these things exist, the government isn't going to attempt to remove 377A because of these people. Okay. Anyways, talking about religion, let's look at another aspect of society: popular media. So how is LGBT perceived in media? Well, Singapore is infamous for, banning certain Netflix shows. Yeah, actually Singapore has probably the top censorer of Netflix shows in the world. If you search, you might actually find that information. So yeah, that's weird. Why is Singapore so like restrictive on the media that we can watch in Netflix? Oh well. Anyways, in terms of the local shows as well, you don't really see a lot of LGBT stuff and things like that. At most you can see in YouTube is the videos by Zula. It's one of the channels that's associated with TSL. And they have had a few videos on people who are part of the LGBT community sharing their opinions and views. So I think that's a good thing. At least we can watch stuff on YouTube about this. And there are also other YouTubers who have made videos about, like, videos featuring LGBT characters and things like that. So at least YouTube is our final, freedom, like free area to watch these kind of videos and learn more about the LGBT community. Yeah, so if we look at something that's not so much of a movie or a film, there's this interesting, I'm not sure what to call it. It's like, a theatrical kind of act. So this act was based on a raid that happened very long ago in Tanjong Rhu. It happened in 1993, and in Singapore actually. So Tanjong Rhu, and in that the police arrested 12 gay people, and that kind of showed the fact that I think that kind of raised quite a bit of debate and controversy. Why do I pronounce it like that? Okay, sorry, controversy. And in this theatrical act, I forgot the name of the act. I don't know why I forgot the name, but if I remember, I'll type it down there somewhere. The performer basically hits a bunch of tofu pieces. So there's like 12 tofu pieces, and he hits one of them at a time. And that's actually is like the symbolism of the raids, basically. And the fact that this act exists allows people to understand the injustice faced by the LGBT community in Singapore. And I think it's a good thing that they actually allowed this act to go on, because that's news. The fact that it actually managed to happen and help spread the message to people is a good thing. Okay, so now let's look at around the world. So around the world, there are definitely many films and movies and stuff depicting gay and lesbian relationships, as well as movies with transgender protagonists. So unfortunately, I am not that big of a movie watcher. So it's kind of, I haven't really watched any of the movies on LGBT, like on gay relationships or lesbian relationships. Although there are definitely quite a few movies in Indian cinema that feature transgender protagonists, because they tend to be quite common in India. So I guess it just appears in the media as well. But the thing is, even if a movie shows something that people aren't in favor of, like if the movie tries to show something new, technically new to those people watching it, the conservative thing that see this as a new thing. So if they don't like it, they won't accept it. And then they'll just be like, oh, this movie is just trying to get more views or something like that, rather than actually getting the message from the movie. And of course, the more mainstream movies that aren't super focused on specifically the lesbian or gay relationship, or like they're just a normal movie in a sense, or a movie about something else entirely different or something like that, they don't really do a very good job of properly showing how both modern relationships work, or how the LGBT relationships work. So by modern relationships, I'm referring to the fact that people are more open nowadays, they're more liberal with their relationships. And the films don't really show them properly. They don't show them in the best light. Like, they show them in a way that people end up just hating them again. So, oh well. So I'll be honest, as I haven't watched any of those films, and my excuse is that, first of all, I don't watch films all that often. I usually only watch animation films. And even if I happen to watch a film, it's because someone else is watching it at the same time. And I'm not really a person who likes watching romantic stories. So, So it's a bit unlikely that I haven't really watched any of this. So I don't actually know how good the movies are at portraying these relationships. And even if I did watch it, I probably wouldn't know, because I have no idea how a relationship works. And I don't know whether the movies are actually genuine, or whether they're just playing on the trope of LGBT or something like that. But either way, I think popular culture is a good way to get people educated on a topic. But there's always this risk of perpetuating certain stereotypes and stuff, which actually undermines what was otherwise a well-intentioned movie. And this is not just for LGBT per se, it can also apply to other topics and can apply to other kinds of discrimination that people face and things like that. So really there is that two ways of looking at the movies. But even though I don't watch movies, I do watch YouTube a lot, as you can tell. There's a reason why I'm making videos on YouTube. Okay. And there are quite a few YouTubers who have come out on the platform. Like by coming out, what I mean is that they tell that, oh, they're gay or they're bisexual or something like that. So they tell it via a video on the platform. I'm explaining this because there's probably people watching this who don't even understand what coming out means. Sorry. So it's interesting to see that, like, that video, like the fact that these videos come there and there's people who, and how it actually happens. Because what happens is the commenters in the videos actually know it before the person even reveals it. Like they can tell just from watching what the person does and things like that. And they're generally very supportive and happy for the YouTuber, which is quite nice, very wholesome. And of course, I can very safely say that just because they come out and they're like gay or bisexual or not straight for that matter, it doesn't make them like radically different from a YouTuber who's straight. They're the same. That they're pretty much the same. They're still a YouTuber. They're entertaining. They have their own personalities. They still do entertaining videos, and they're good natured and they do what they do well. Like, I mean, they do what they like to do and they do that well. Of course, by same I don't mean they're like all YouTubers are the same, but by same I mean they're all human beings. They still have a normal life like anyone else. So yeah, that's proof right there that, you know, being in the LGBT community or, you know, being someone who's not straight is not wrong at all. It's perfectly fine, and it doesn't make you like suddenly a different person or different something. I don't know. It doesn't make you different from someone who's straight per se. So yeah, so it's great that YouTube as a platform gives them that courage and motivates them to come out via a video, because really it's I think YouTube tends to serve as a place where people can just say stuff, and even if no one really watches the video, they feel the sense of, you know, happiness when they say something, and it's like they can tell it without really worrying about the fact that literally they're like talking to themselves or something. At least someone else is probably gonna hear it. Yeah, so that's the great thing about YouTube in a way. And yeah, I already mentioned the Zula videos, and I'll put a link to one of them below because I think it's important to actually, you know more about the situation here in Singapore. So yeah, great. So before we end, let's look at a bunch of other aspects of LGBT in Singapore. So actually I haven't written any script for the part after this sentence, so I'm just gonna, just say stuff. So in the education system, well, in schools, what usually happens is, there's this assumption that in same gender schools, same gender schools, or like all female, all male kind of schools, there seems to be a higher prevalence of lesbian or gay relationships. I think the reason why there's this assumption is because when you are around a certain group of people for a very long time, you are naturally inclined to have attraction to them in some way or the other. Either it's friendship, or it could be like a pseudo romantic kind of attraction, or like a crush kind of attraction. So it's very likely that in same sex or same gender schools, I'm not sure what to call them, which one's the right word, but yeah, so in those schools, it's very likely that there are quite a few people who might think that they are lesbian or gay at some point of time. But really, it just takes time for everyone to figure out what's their sexual orientation and whether they're straight or lesbian or gay or whatever it is. And yeah, there's just a period of time where they just experiment and figure out who they are, like figure out their identity. So there's nothing to worry about it. Everyone will kind of understand, like know their identity at some point of time. So yeah, that's pretty much, I don't know what I intended to say. Okay, so So in education system, that's the first point that you can probably talk about. So the second point is about the fact that even in the education system, even though it's an open place when it comes to students are quite, accepting and quite liberal. They're quite accepting of each other. The education itself isn't adequate in the sense I feel that as well, because we have this thing called sex education in schools, and it's pretty lame to say the least. Although it's suitable for people like me who find these kind of topics a bit uncomfortable to say the least, but for some people it's definitely not adequate. It's like what they say is, oh, just abstain. Just abstain from sex, and or if you do have it, use all these methods to prevent something bad from happening. That's pretty much what they tell in sex education. They don't tell about whether, like, the difference between a straight relationship and being gay or lesbian, or what are the things you need to worry about when you're in a relationship and stuff like that. So it's a bit problematic, to say the least, and the problem is deeper than just they don't really cover everything that the teenagers need to know about relationships, and that leaves a lot of people confused as to what to do, and they actually know more from having a relationship rather than from sex education classes, because they're pretty redundant and they just show us some these are the consequences of having unprotected sex, that kind of stuff, and they just scare people, and that's about as much as they do. They don't really tell anything else much. Okay, I mean, at most what they might tell is that in a relationship you must be understanding of each other and know how to communicate well, and that's pretty much the most that they will tell. They don't really tell a lot of that much of useful information to the students themselves. Yeah, that's actually a bit of a opinion, and also a bit of me telling anecdotally what the education system gives. So another place that we can look at is Reddit. Of course, okay, I'm moving away from the education system and now into the internet. So in Reddit, there's definitely a lot of discussion about literally everything in Singapore. I think it's one of the other places where you can freely tell things and not be worried about, problems in a sense. And in Reddit, there's definitely discussions about many things, but the problem is the Reddit community for Singapore is a little bit, it's not that diverse as you would expect it to be. So the conversations there, of course, the people are more accepting of LGBT and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's not really the full range of views that you get from the entire Singaporean population or something. So it's just a small microcosm of what you would like. It's not really reflective of the entire Singapore. But at the same time, you can go and talk to like-minded people of your views and your opinions and discuss stuff and stuff like that lah. Anyways, unfortunately I can't think of other things already. But yeah, like it's not like I really know to great depths about this, because it's something that you don't really get a lot of information and stuff like that. So yeah. So in conclusion, if anyone felt offended at any point of time, I'm sorry. I'll apologize right now if anyone felt offended by anything that I said. If you do feel offended, please leave a comment so that I can, be more politically correct next time. And if you're a conservative person who feels offended by the existence of this video, then I have nothing to say to you, so sorry. But to people who feel like this is actually a useful video, please do share it with other people, and also give comments and feedback as to how to, make things better in Singapore, or in general how to have a more meaningful discussion about this. That's about it. If you found this video useful, please press the like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.